Hi, everyone. We're at the Metals Investor Forum doing backstage interviews, and I have Márcio Fonseca, who is the president of GR Silver. Márcio, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me today, and it's a great conference and very exciting about the silver market.
Absolutely. Our timing is right on, and I think people will be very interested to hear more about the GR Silver story. So why don't we jump right in? Maybe you can start with giving us a high-level overview of GR Silver's history and its assets.
For sure. GR Silver controls the Plomosas Project, which has two areas. One is a past producer underground mine that was operated by Grupo Mexico until 2001. To remind the audience, at that time, silver price was $5 per ounce. With all the infrastructure in place, the only thing that we don't have there is a mill, all the permits in place, but more recently, we discovered in a second area that's San Marcial, which is 5 kilometers, a silver primary deposit with wide intersections, 100 meters, 300 grams per ton of silver, 75 meters at 293 grams per ton of silver equivalent,
Tremendous.
which is really spectacular,
It is.
showing that we have a system on the edge of a big intrusive, which commonly it's a place where you can find large deposits.
So it sounds like off to a very good start with that discovery. These are. I mean, for viewers to realize, 75 meters. You said 300 grams per ton. That's just tremendous. I mean, that's massive, and not typical. I think also for silver, right, to have such wide intercepts of high grades like that.
In our experience, in particular myself, with world-class deposits, silver is commonly with polymetallic.
Right, exactly.
Or with gold.
Absolutely.
In our case, until now, until 1 week, we've been hitting silver. 85% of the metal content
Amazing.
is silver. And that drove us to try to understand more what was happening. And when we did the ground geophysical survey and we discovered the anomaly, we realized, wait a minute, we have drilled only 20% of the anomaly.
Imagine.
We have 80% still of the footprint to drill.
Amazing.
And with only 18,000 meters, we defined 68 million ounces of silver equivalent.
Imagine.
So there's still more space to grow.
Exactly. So quite spectacular, quite exciting, and still obviously quite early days. Márcio, tell us, we fast forward to today. You certainly mentioned one of them right now, but maybe you can give us an overview with the GR, what the drivers are overall for the company.
For sure. Now that we have close to 13 million Canadian dollars in the bank, and in the last 12 months, the company has been very diligent to remove all the liabilities, our financial situation is extremely robust. This cash position is going to fund the company for an additional drilling program, that's 15,000 meters, and it's important to say that we just got a 5-year drilling permit, which is really a record in Mexico, and also use part of the funds to advance engineering in relation to the Plomosas area, that's the past producer, in a way that we can really have the economics, how we can have a pilot plant on site. And in 2026, we hope, as a vision, we can bring the company more up to a producer level of company in the Canadian markets.
Excellent. Now, a couple of things you mentioned are rarities, a 5-year drilling permit, a fully permitted mine. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about those two things.
Yeah, it's really very unusual that you have an old mine in Mexico that still have the permits.
Right.
And when you consider that the Plomosas mine shut down in 2001, we are talking now 24 years later.
Exactly.
We have checked that most of the permits, like explosives, water, are still in good conditions,
Fantastic.
which is material because normally Mexico takes time
Sure.
to get all this.
Sure.
So we realized that it's material as a way to create value to the shareholders, particularly now when you have silver at 46.
Exactly.
And the time to bring that back into production is much shorter. You're not talking about 2-3 years to wait for a permit.
Right.
You can start things step by step and expand. And about the 5-year drilling permit, my experience and my team in Mexico in the past applications was that we would get a permit for 1 year, 1 year and a half for a small number of holes. We put a lot of efforts to discuss and interact with the Mexican authorities, how the discovery was important for the community, and explain that we need to have a permit that gives us enough timeline to continue to expand the resource.
Right. Right.
And they gave us the 5-year permit for 46 sites.
Wow.
They never put a limitation about the meters of drilling and neither the orientation. So we can have a lot of points that we can play, which is good.
Absolutely. Wow, that's really a landmark development. So we talked about that. You received a 5-year drill permit, San Marcial. You also talked about how that's meaningful, obviously. You mentioned, what it allows you to do, how it's important for the community. Can you elaborate maybe a little bit? There's obviously the drill permit, the timeline on the drill permit, but given perhaps what looks like the importance of this discovery and where this could potentially go, you talked also about how you've only looked at about 20% of the. Can you? I mean, I know it's speculation, but and given the size right now, can you give us some sense maybe of how much this could actually grow?
Today, we believe that the geological setting that you have that's on the edge of this intrusive is very unique for generation of large deposits. We drilled 18,000 meters and defined 68 million ounces. Other companies, when they play with narrow veins, they need to drill probably 100,000 meters.
Right.
The next phase, 15,000 meters, might give the audience maybe this number, maybe two times.
Wow.
But that's still probably 30-40% of the footprint.
Imagine.
And we believe the San Marcial, as it stands now, it's already possible as a potential deposit that can fit in the 5 to 7 million ounces of silver
Production annual.
But we're still 3 years before that.
Exactly.
And the way we're looking is, for investors, is that we can bring Plomosas in some sort of production, can be a source of cash for the company, and de-risk the development of San Marcial for the integration of those two areas. But the footprint is close to 2.5 by 2.5 kilometers of the anomaly. We have drilled 600 meters. So you can have the magnitude of numbers here that we are playing here.
Exactly. It's really quite impressive, and it gives you some sense of the potential scale here. You recently had we talked about these outstanding drill results, step out drilling, some of the implications of that. Maybe you can tell us. One of the things that I know is also exceptional about GR Silver is that the company's shares trade huge volumes, and you do not tend to see this in silver juniors. Maybe you can speak to some of the benefits that has.
Of course, this is the result of the transformation of the company. We came to the market to explain that we have a vision that's to approach exploration development with much lower risk because we have permits and we have some infrastructure and we have a discovery. That got the attention of the market that in 3 days we got an offer for a bought deal. But even this hot market is very unusual.
Of course.
We brought new shareholders, institutions, which is really, they see that not many companies have a discovery out there. And in the last 2 months or 2 months and a half, we have been the top 10 trading companies on the TSXV.
Fantastic. Which
gives an average of 6 million shares a day.
Wow.
Which brings liquidity for investors.
Yes.
I'm an investor as well. It's always good to see it. There's a way to be in and out.
Of course.
And that is a situation that a lot of institutions and retail have realized that we are just at the beginning of the creation of value of this company.
Exactly. Just to kind of go back for a moment, something that maybe you could speak to is that what I'm gathering from the fact that, these intercepts are so wide and so rich, and how little drilling you've had to do to accumulate so many ounces, tells us how inexpensive it is to add ounces to this deposit.
That's true, because having wide mineralizations on average 22 meters, we are still shallow, 250 meters below the surface. Of course, it's going to continue down deep. The last hole that was 75 meters at 293 grams per ton silver equivalent was a 250 meters step out, showing that the system is there. And we have learned how to operate in the region with a composition of our own drill rigs and third parties, which brings the cost per drilling very low. And our discovery cost in dollars per ounce of silver is very low. It's 17 cents per ounce of
Wow.
silver, which shows to the audience that we have been very effective about how to use the capital with money
Exactly.
in the ground.
That's also a rarity, and I think that's something viewers have to kind of keep in mind in terms of how it helps the potential for GR, because you could, and you're on that track clearly, add a lot of ounces for very little cost.
Exactly.
And grow, and that means that it deserves even more multiples from here.
That's the plan, because we are playing the way to make the market become more aware that not only you have this wide mineralization that you don't need to drill a lot of drill holes in a short
Right.
space. You can have a more wide space because they are wide.
Exactly.
But also to work with the combination of the other area that's the Plomosas mine with
Right.
the permits, that in the nearby future, hope in 2026, we can get a re-rating close to a producer.
Absolutely. We've touched on quite a few things, although we still are always limited with time, but maybe you can give viewers a little bit of an idea of what some of the catalysts are over the next, say, 12, 18 months that they can look forward to at GR.
For sure, excited as we are with the discovery. Of course, drilling is important. We are going to continue drilling now that we have the permit at San Marcial. We have, as I said, probably close to 15,000 meters in the next 9, 12 months. That's going to trigger a lot of catalyst news flows on the drill hole results. We have the bulk sampling going at Plomosas that's going to bring engineering data, and we are going to tell the market about what we are discovering about the pilot plant. And next year, we expect to have an update resource estimation with all the discovery. That's a big catalyst.
Wow.
And finally, we want in 2026 for the first time to do an integration of San Marcial and Plomosas with a PEA. Wow. Which will bring the economics and the value of the combination of these two assets.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Márcio. We got a great overview, and there's certainly a lot to look forward to with GR Silver.